Welcome. I've got a couple of interesting oak trees to work on today that I planted in the ground. But before I start, I've been struggling with my exposure levels, getting it right. And if you're thinking I've overexposed my legs, no, they are actually this colour. I've wired this oak tree, I'm just trying to show it to you, so it comes up and towards the camera. I'll show you a view from the side in a moment. I initially had this branch here as the leader. However, this year a really thick branch has appeared. It's growing super healthily, and I think that's going to make a better new leader than this. Viewed from the side, you can hopefully see this bend that I've applied to the trunk. And so I'm liking everything that's happening. I like this branch. There's a nice branch here, but I want this as the new leader, so I want to get some wiring shape into it now rather than waiting. So this is the old apex, which I could still use because I'm not removing it yet, but if I do decide to use this as the new leader of the tree, it's already got some lovely taper at the base, and I just want to put some movement into it. So I've got a piece of wire. It's fairly thick because it's a fairly thick branch, and I'm going to firstly wrap it round to get a good anchor. There we go. So it's nice and well anchored down there, and so I can now just bend this wire around this branch. Because it's thick, as I say, it'll provide tons of support. And now it's just a question of deciding which way I want this branch to go, because bearing in mind this is the new leader, so the trunk's tapering around, it's coming towards the camera, so I want it to come round and up. So I want this to kind of come back on itself like that, and then vertically up. So I think that's adding some really nice interest to this branch, instead of it just being just a normal straight sort of sucker. This is now got something happening, which I think is good. This branch on the back here could also have a bit of movement added. It's in a nice place. The wire needs to be nothing like as thick as this first one, so I'll apply a thinner wire to this. From this side we get a better view of this branch. This branch has already had some movement added, but I'll use it as an anchor, maybe just add a little more movement to it. And then come round the trunk and around this branch that I want to support with some movement. And because these branches, I've got a branch, the new leader's coming off this way, I've got a nice branch there. I just want this to kind of come more towards the camera. So let's just add some movement like that. Initially there, and then just perhaps going back up a little bit. This second tree is interesting. It comes up, and I selected a side branch to use as the main leader, and the main trunk I wired, and it actually moves away from the camera. From this angle here you can see the branches that I'm allowing to grow at the base of the tree, and it's a great example of sacrificial branches. They're too low for the design, but the combination of these three is really thickening up that base, which is adding great taper. Now there is the possibility of making that into the new leader, because although it tapers, it doesn't really taper beyond that point. So I am thinking now that perhaps this should become the new leader, pointing up in this direction. So I'm going to apply some wire to this and then possibly chop it in the autumn. I've got some fairly thick wire, so first thing I'm going to do is just wrap this around the trunk like this, and then I can get a good fix on this branch to allow me then to move this up into the position of the new top of the tree, something like that. And I think that works quite well. Because I've got such thick wire, I can afford to be quite brave with my bend, and that will make for an interesting apex, I think. It's a bit of a shame to lose this other stuff, but ultimately in bonsai we have to think about the long-term goals, and I like that. I've moved down to the end of the garden, and I've got an oak tree here that I wired in place, I think about 12 months ago. It was a tiny sapling. I applied some wire, and I think it's time to remove this wire because it's beginning to mark the trunk. I don't mind some marks with an oak, but I don't want it to bite in too severely. So, oh, this is really held into a very nice shape. The beauty of working on a little sapling like this is that you can really get that movement that you want at a very early age, and so as it grows and develops, half of that work's done for you. You know, it's already got bags of character going forward. Take this piece of wire off and look at that. Now, just like that last tree, this has got two suckers very low down, and I'll leave those on to grow as sacrificial branches to thicken the base of the trunk. Apart from that, I just leave this to grow on now. I just moved the camera just to give you a better angle so you can see the movement that's been applied. Very nice. From the tiny to the huge, we've got an oak tree here that I did loads of work on about 2 days ago. I chopped it down by about 10 foot, pruned it in, and I'm going to turn this into like a garden tree, with the idea being over the next 10 or 20 years I turn it into like a kind of giant bonsai. I think they have them in Japan. That's kind of the idea. So it looks like a 50-foot tall tree, but that's only maybe 10 or 12 foot tall. So it's just a bit of a project I'm working on. I enjoy this kind of work as well. I think I would have made a good tree surgeon if I wasn't so frightened of heights. As always, thanks for joining me. It's been a really good day. If you've enjoyed the video, hit like, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day.